right, so this video is going to be a short video on the scientific revolution, reviewing the original sources of knowledge in medieval Europe, the events that led to the scientific revolution, and then the major scientists and discoveries of the scientific revolution. So just a reminder, the sources of knowledge in the Middle Ages were the works of Aristotle and the Bible and Catholic Church. So we've got a sculpture of Aristotle. Remember, he was an ancient Greek philosopher and thinker who wrote on a lot of different topics from his own observations, reason, and logic. And then the Bible, remember, the Catholic Church was very important in the Middle Ages. So if you wanted to know or understand something in medieval Europe, you went to the Catholic Church. Or if you were educated and had access, you read the works of Aristotle. So one of the given truths of the Middle Ages was that the Earth was the center of the solar system, and this was based on ancient Greek thinker Ptolemy's geocentric theory. So again, geocentric is Earth center. So here you can see the three known continents at the time, Europe, Africa, and Asia, in the Earth, which is also in the center of the solar system, and everything orbited the Earth, including the sun. So what changed? Two major events led to the scientific revolution. The first was the Renaissance, when Europeans rediscovered the Greek and Roman cultures, and they began to copy anything the Greeks and Romans had done, and that's going to include the way of thinking. And the term for this is Greek rationalism. So Europeans became obsessed with Greek rationalism and started to use reason, logic, and observation to understand the world around them. And we see a lot of curiosity happening during the Renaissance. And the picture that I've chosen for you is the Vitruvian Man, drawn by Leonardo da Vinci, who was trying to figure out the perfect proportions of man's body. And on the right, we have a map from the Age of Exploration. So the second major event that led to the scientific revolution was the Age of Exploration, in which European explorers set out and accidentally discovered new continents that they had not realized were there. So what this does is it leads Europeans to start questioning traditional sources of knowledge, because those traditional sources of knowledge had said that there were only 3 continents. So now they're wondering what else they might not realize or know about the world. So they're going to start questioning everything. They're going to question those traditional sources of knowledge. And the first major scientist is Nicholas Copernicus. He was Polish. Now, he's going to put forth the heliocentric or sun center theory, and you can see that in his little diagram next to him. And just a reminder, he's not the first person to say that the sun might be the center of the solar system. He just happens to say it at a time when people are questioning everything and trying to figure things out for themselves. So it's kind of like the right time for that theory to be put forth. He's going to use reason and logic and observations to come up with this theory. Not many people believed him when he came out with this theory, partly because his math was off and that he said that the planets orbited in circles. So not many people believed him at the time. But then later scientists are going to build on his theory. So the next major scientist is Galileo. And Galileo, he's going to use the telescope to make observations. He's going to see things like the moon has craters, Venus goes through phases, and Jupiter has at least 5 moons, which means that things orbit other planets besides Earth. So he's going to add specific evidence to prove the heliocentric theory correct. However, he lived in Italy, so the Catholic Church is going to threaten him with heresy and the Inquisition, and he takes back all of his work. Now, this is a little GIF on the Copernicus theory. So you see that the planets are orbiting in perfect circles, which is not actually accurate. However, I like this little GIF because the planets, you can see the light and dark phases. So you can see that as planets orbit the sun, they go through phases. And if you see the moon in the bottom left corner, that's kind of an example of the moon going through different phases as it orbits the Earth and the sun. Newton is the last major scientist, and he's going to live several centuries after Nicholas Copernicus and Kepler and Galileo. Newton puts together the law of gravity. So again, gravity exists whether or not we acknowledge it, but Newton's going to give it an explanation. And the legend goes that he was sitting under an apple tree and an apple fell on his head and he realized that gravity is a thing. His discovery is important because it gives a reason why the planets orbit the sun and the moon orbits the earth. So he uses gravity to explain why everything orbits the sun and then the moon orbits the earth. And that is what helped people finally believe Nicholas Copernicus' theory that the sun is the center of the solar system. So the major impact of the scientific revolution, people began questioning traditional sources of knowledge and wanted to figure the world out for themselves. People also began using reason, logic, and observation to understand the world around them. So in the scientific revolution, they're using reason, logic, and observation to see the physical world. Later on, when we talk about the Enlightenment, they're going to use reason, logic, and observation on government. So that's going to be our topic later this week. When you are in science class, you use the scientific method, which is when you come up with a question and you make a hypothesis or an educated guess. You experiment and observe your experiment and record data. You analyze the results, and then you put together a report. This scientific method is created during the scientific revolution to guide thinking. All right, that's it.